A different world.
Everybody out on the fence.
With its own rules. Often justice in their own hands.
In there, in the pool, we drown the sex offenders.
Zero tolerance.
Back to your cells.
Gangs. Violence. Drugs.
You can get all drugs inside.
And harassment.
I did it to make it tough.
And inhumane conditions. All this behind bars. In the world's toughest prisons. Harassment, humiliation, pushed beyond the limit. Welcome to Miami-Dade Boot Camp.
As of right now, we break them down and we empty the cup, and that way we can refill it.
Get it out your mind. Get boot camp on your mind.
The concept, break them down. At all costs, until they give in or give up.
They see us as robots. We're not people, we're robots. It's crazy.
For those who can persevere, freedom beckons. Those who fail end up here. Miami-Dade County Jail. Same prison, different department, different inmates, tougher inmates. The toughest.
You're gonna get got to before the officers get here. By the time they do that, you hurt. You hurt, you bleeding, something happened.
Murderers with life sentences who know the brutality behind bars.
Your life could be taken away easy in prison. Very easy, because you're around 1,500 different personalities.
Miami-Dade County Jail and Miami-Dade Boot Camp. Certainly the most notorious departments in one of the world's toughest prisons. Miami, located in the southern part of the Sunshine State, Florida. Miami Beach, the culmination of glitz and glamour. Seen and be seen, rich and famous. But when you look behind the glittering facade, Miami is the second poorest city among major metropolitan areas in the United States. 17% of the population live below the poverty line. Crime rate, much higher than the national U.S. average. The Miami Police Department has their hands full, and tough guys by the numbers. Final stop for most of them, Miami-Dade Pretrial Detention Center, D.C. Jail for short. A huge rundown old building with room for 1,700 prisoners, but more on that later. Because every few months, the night behind bars begins with a unique ritual. In one of the last existing boot camps in the U.S., final preparations before the guards meet their new recruits.
Once they come off the bus, we holler and scream it, we're gonna line them up. After that we'll lead them up to the upper barracks. That's when we're gonna start getting their haircuts. Then, you can go to protocol, we go to protocol and then stress them. Then be by time to stop it, then time for the shower time.
The new inmates are just arriving in court. 37 felons, aged between 14 and 24. They've most certainly heard about boot camp, but now will experience the reality firsthand.
All right, it's game time. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Let's go. Get off my bus! Hey, get off my bus! You need to hurry up! Come here! Get out here! Get the refrigerator! Knock your body out! Get the refrigerator! Hurry up! Hurry up!
Let me tell you something right now. You ain't feeling boot camp. Do you understand that? That's it. Do you understand that? You didn't get a whole lot of goddamn line of me. Do you understand that? How much do you goddamn bar for? I'm talking to you. I sir, no order, I sir. You ain't get a whole lot of sticking out. You get a whole lot of goddamn line of me. I'm talking to you. I sir. I sir.
A small taste of what the next months are going to be like here.
don't want to be here. You don't freaking leave. You already know you freaking leave. All right, sir.
All right, sir.
Louder than that.
All right, sir.
Louder than me.
All right, sir.
Sir, yes, sir.
Confuse, shock, unsettle. All to the max. Mission accomplished after only 3 minutes. Tough young guys from 4 different departments of Miami-Dade Correctional Facility brought together for boot camp. A very special experience. No rights, only obligations. For example, the obligation to uniform haircuts. Robert is 21 years old, but old enough for attempted murder and aggravated assault. The boot camp, his last chance to escape regular prison. 16 months of constant drill instead of decades behind bars. Younger offenders are given a second chance. But there is a price to pay. Constant drill, harassment, and systematic humiliations in exchange for a sentence reduction. Maybe.
Run in place, do it now. Run in place. Now stop.
Too many of the boot camp participants can't even survive the first week.
We get a lot of people in, they just pass out, they can't do the exercise no more. Because we are at a high intensity and we stress them out so much, and they're not able to do it. With the hollering and screaming, and they're constantly moving, dress got to constantly holler at them, so they're always stressed out there.
Bad prospects for the so-called cadets.
I knew already what was going on. Yeah, I could do it. I know it's going to be hard, but I could do it.
That's what all of them say, but many won't make it.
Sir, no, sir. Sir, no, sir. Sir, no, sir. Here's the gap. Here's the gap.
They have to make it through the full 16 months. Otherwise, it was a useless exercise.
Whatever you're doing, when they say 1, you stop doing it, come back to the position of attention. Do you understand? Yes, sir. Jogging place, do it now. Yes, sir. Knees up, knees up, knees up, knees up, knees up. 3, 2, and 1. Yes, sir.
For 5 years now, Officer Jules Wooden is drill instructor with a passion at Miami-Dade Boot Camp.
As of right now, we break them down and we empty the cup, and that way we can refill it and teach them everything we want them to know.
When you fail to do what I command, you will be punished. You understand that? Yes, sir. I'm a very angry individual. You understand? Yes, sir. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Meanwhile, the intake of rookies enters the 3rd hour. Continuous shouting, humiliations, distress and distract. Random targeting, singling out the weak. That seems to be the only constant here. Now, it's time for the victim.
He wanted to sleep. Hey, you came to lay down. You came to lay down. He wanted to sleep. Hey, no, dog on high. Hey, keep all that down.
Push. We ain't done push. Get your knees off my freaking dick.
Psychological abuse and torment is also part of the boot camp program.
Aye, sir.
And it won't be the last time. Cadet Giuseppe isn't exactly fit, an obvious sign of weakness. In one of the world's toughest prisons, the worst thing that can happen to you. The officers are on the lookout for any sign of weakness and immediately sniff them out. They've zeroed in on Giuseppe.
The physical fitness part is going to be a challenge for him.
Hard times await Giuseppe, as well as former Rasta Robert.
He's a knucklehead. He's going to be one of those ice that takes a while to melt. He has that, oh, nobody's going to tell me what to do attitude.
Robert is going to be the center of attention. Anything but an advantage in boot camp. Miami-Dade boot camp, inside one of the world's toughest prisons. Physical drill taken to the limits, and psychological abuse as part of the strategy.
You whispering, right? We don't whisper here in boot camp. All right, sir. All right, sir.
The goal, to break notorious offenders, turn them around, make them part of society again. Not everyone can stand the pressure. One in particular is on the brink. Cadet Osman is harboring a secret.
It drives me crazy. That's all I got on my mind.
But more on that later. Miami's correctional facility is comprised of several units. Boot camp is just one of the units, the smallest and surely the one with the toughest rules. Particularly notorious is also another division, the Pre-Trial Detention Center, DC Jail for short. A person who commits an offense in Miami lands here first. The jail is a melting pot for criminals of all kinds, many pre-trial, some sentenced. 6 a.m., Officer Ivory Williams begins his shift. The 48-year-old Williams has been working at DC Jail for almost 20 years now. It's supposed to be a detention center, despite the fact that convicted criminals are here too. Officer Williams is responsible for monitoring the most serious cases in Ward 6B. Even murderers with life sentences.
When a guy has a life sentence, he might feel like he doesn't have anything to lose. So, you know, with those, you're a little bit more cognizant of how you kind of deal with a guy.
The slightest mistake could be fatal for Officer Williams.
These guys have nothing to live for sometimes, and they will, if given a chance, they will act out irrationally.
Ward 6B, anything but cozy. 8 to 16 inmates to a cell. Behind metal bars, so the wardens have visual oversight 24/7. Tough guys, like animals in a cage.
They all house the same kind of guys, maximum, the murderers, the rapists, the bank robbers, all of that good stuff.
This is cell 6B3. We got dudes in here facing multiple, felony charges. These guys right here is basically facing, the death penalty.
The death penalty continues to be common practice in Florida. For some in the cell block, the trial will determine how long they'll have left to live. Currently in the Sunshine State, almost 400 prisoners are awaiting execution, ranking Florida in second place for the number of death row inmates in the United States. And those not expecting the death penalty can expect to spend decades behind bars. That means, in practical terms, locked away 24/7 in holding cells. No privacy. Only once a week the chance to stretch your legs in the prison yard. No wonder aggression simmers just below the surface.
That's your last time doing that.
Miami-Dade County Jail, Florida. A place with no room for compassion.
I feel sorry for them, no. Honestly, some people, I'm sure there are some people who didn't do what they're in here for. There is a percentage. I'm quite sure not everybody is guilty, but for the ones who did, no.
And so the inmates spend their days and nights behind iron bars in Miami's infamous jail. The narrow cells, a reservoir for dangerous criminals. The inevitable close quarters, stoking aggression. Plenty of time to craft homemade weapons and harass fellow inmates.
I've seen just about everything from gang fights, stabbing, shanks. You know, when we say a shanking, that's basically a homemade or jail-made knife. And when we say somebody got shanked, that means he just got stabbed or, you know, cut up or whatever, you know, he's bleeding out.
Someone else who has pretty much seen everything? Torrance, 45 years old, murderer. Sentence, life. He will most likely never get out of here alive. He has been in prison since he was 16 for more than 29 years. Torrance committed his crimes as a youth. The list is long and brutal.
First-degree murder, 3 attempted murders, armed robbery with a firearm, and a shotgun.
Which is why he has been behind bars for nearly 3 decades. He has learned to stand his ground.
I've been incarcerated for 29 and a half years, and I never had the chance to be around other juveniles. I was sent around adults. I had so many charges and capital offenses, they tried me as an adult. So I was sent to adult prison at 16. So I was in a new environment where I had to cope and had to survive, because I'm around guys that been incarcerated 40 years already and 30 years. And it was a self-experience, you know. I survived it without becoming a victim to what was going on in that environment. And I made it, you know, with the grace of God, I made it.
But even if he has survived until now, 24 hours a day continuously behind bars, eventually it gets to everyone, even Torrance. Every single day in Miami-Dade is tough and dangerous.
Go through with a life sentence. Life sentence, it's like it's black in front of you. There's no light. You know what I'm saying? Like the average inmate, if he have a date where he's being released, he have hope, you know, and he got light in front of him, he could see. But with a life sentence, if you're not strong mentally, you'll get caught up in a lot of things that go on in the prison system. A lot of guys, homosexual activities, they gang banging in prison. Now, and your life could be taken away easy in prison. Very easy, because you're around 1,500 different personalities. And who's to say this guy gonna wake up this morning feeling like how you feel? So you got to be real careful in prison.
Torrance knows how to get by, yet he clings to the small chance that he might make it out one day. Because of changing laws, his life sentence may be appealed. Still, the chance to be released, minimal. Back at boot camp, it's 3:30 a.m. It's been a week since the new recruits arrived. Each day has a strict and uncomfortable schedule to adhere to. 4 a.m. sharp, wake up.
Get on out over there! Hurry up! You got Dade all day! Stop moving! 6, 5, 4, let's go! Quickly! Quickly! And 1! Count on!
From a deep sleep to wide awake, that is boot camp. Torment for Giuseppe, a convicted thief. It's never too early to punish mistakes.
Do it! Do it now! Count up! Count up! Count out now! 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you still on push-ups! Push! You push!
Push, down. Get up, count. You gonna miss your count. Get up, count.
Execute commands to the T, zero tolerance. Ex-dreadlock guy Robert is too slow as well. The fact that the cadets are not familiar with many of the commands after only 1 week doesn't stop the instructors from showing them up.
They say put him on. Why you the only no shower sauce on? Now he's still stop push. Hurry up!
Go fast over there!
Down up. Look at front. Make me look. Make me happy. Look!
The officers are especially unhappy with 18-year-old Osman. Too slow, too sloppy. They are going to let him know.
Come and drive.
It's off to the pool first, on command and under strict supervision. Officer Wooden has already whipped countless offenders through boot camp.
For a lot of them, once they first get here, they have a lot of drugs in their bloodstream. They have a lot of alcohol within their system. So after a week of working out, you see that coming out of their pores. And first their body breaks down. Once their body gets tired, their arms get tired, their muscles get tired. But as they continue to push on, you see a light at the end of the tunnel.
The cadets are still far away from the light at the end of the tunnel. Out into the night on an empty stomach for the first leg. The workout begins at 5 a.m. Physically demanding as nothing before. Today outside for the first time. Giuseppe and the other cadets are suffering. Sleep deprivation and hunger are part of the program to grind them down.
Very tired. Hungry.
Hard physical training on an empty stomach. The cadets reach their limits pretty quickly after wake-up. Inmate Robert is battling against his exhaustion and hunger.
Craziest feeling ever.
No breaks are planned during morning workout. Only when the body fails due to complete exhaustion is the mind ready for unconditional surrender. At least, that's what the officers think. Giuseppe continues to fall further behind during the running. Any sign of weakness is a magnet for the instructors.
I say something, you say something. New kick. Push. All right, sir. All right, sir. You got all the way. Say nothing. All right, sir.
All right, sir.
On your feet. All right, sir.
All right, sir.
Hey, push you in now.
All right, sir.
You gonna see me whisper? You whispering, right? We don't whisper here in boot camp. All right, sir.
All right, sir.
New kick. Now, you a whole lap behind, which means you got to sprint around and catch up with everybody else. Let's go!
All right, sir.
After 1.5 hours of a hard physical workout, the cadets are finally allowed to take a short break. By now, Giuseppe has figured out that his slowness wasn't the only thing he was punished for.
I was talking while I was running.
Give yourselves up.
Talking is never good here.
Giuseppe isn't the only one who is completely exhausted. Others are in despair as well.
I think it's unnecessary. You could be hurting yourself and they still don't care.
Serious injuries during boot camp are not uncommon. Fatalities due to exhaustion and physical abuse have also occurred in U.S. boot camps. Nevertheless, no pity to be found here.
He said he felt weak, he didn't want to run. So because he didn't want to run, it's no problem, get in push-up position. But a lot of times they feel like that. They don't want to do it. When they don't want to do it, that's their excuse.
Most of the recruits have understood that showing weakness doesn't get them very far. So they learn to suffer in silence.
When during training, it's their job to make sure they stay healthy. If they don't stay healthy, they can't complete through the program.
Before sunrise, it's already 85 degrees Fahrenheit in Miami. Keeping hydrated is crucial. The ration for the cadets, only 200 milliliters, meager, and as everything, only on command. Divided over the day, it will be exactly 2.5 liters. Even if it seems absolutely inhuman, boot camp provides a second chance. Young offenders between 14 and 24 years of age can drastically shorten their sentences. But they have to go through hell to get there. 16 months of complete surrender. According to the wardens, a lesson for life. Break them first, then build them up again. Not every cadet can stand the strain. An average of 10% drop out during the first week. For those who fail the program, it's straight back to arrest. A completely different world in itself. The guards venturing into a cell only if they outnumber the inmates. Miami's toughest criminals are in there. Atmosphere in the holding cell, tense. Turkle, armed robbery, is one of 16 inmates in this cell. He shares it with other felons, murderers, and rapists.
Everybody had their own reason for doing what they did. You know, some people kill, some people are thieves, some people are organized crime artists. And being in the cell, we all one.
Survival strategy in here? According to Turkle, the only rule is there are no rules. So how do you survive in one of the toughest prisons around?
Rules? Ain't no rules. One thing about it is respect. If you respect your neighbor respects you. But if you psych, if you crazy, and you do a lot of things that people don't like, your time gonna be hard.
Respect your fellow inmates and don't attract attention. The most important rule in one of America's toughest prisons. There's not a lot of room in the cell.
We got the pisser right here. We got the shitter right here, you feel me? You always keep this area nice, keep it right, because people use the bathroom. We clean up every day in here, you know. Everybody, you know, if you make a mess, you clean it up.
Privacy? Forget it. The men sleep in rusty bunk beds on thin plastic mats. Belongings are stowed below on the damp ground. The choice of your sleeping place can determine if you survive the night.
But I prefer being on the top because I can see everything, observe everything, got my eyes right. Can't nobody get to me on the top bunk. If they can, hey, I'm coming back. On the bottom bunk, you trap. Somebody get to you, you trap. You can't get up out of it. That's the difference between the bottom and the top rack to me.
Any location advantage counts when you have to survive among murderers, rapists, and other violent offenders. Many are organized in gangs, useful for gang members, dangerous for everyone else. That doesn't seem to intimidate Turkle.
To me, a gang ain't nothing but being affiliated with a bunch of niggas that's gonna take your money or tell you to do something. That's what a gang is to me. I'm not with that. I'm for self. I'm a one-man army. All that gang members and all that done, nah, you can't get me like that. I could be cool with you. Yeah, we could be down. But as in being in the gang and throwing up all them crazy signs and portraying myself as a gangster when I know I'm not, nah, that ain't me.
Tough words in a cell where Turkle can never be sure if he'll get help from an officer in the event of an altercation.
You gonna get got to before the officers get here. If anything go down, you gonna get got to. Because they gotta come through all these gates and come through all that. By the time they do that, you hurt. You hurt, you bleeding, something happened. Sometimes they make it in time. If they paying attention to the camera or if they hearing what's going on in the cell. Sometimes they don't.
How very prophetic Turkle's words turn out to be minutes after this interview. Alarm in Turkle's cell. Brawl among prisoners. One of them has a black eye and is taken away. It's Turkle. What happened? Did he say something wrong? We'll find out later. Back in Miami-Dade boot camp, clear message to all now. Memorize the basic rules, loud and clear. But Cadet Osman can't concentrate.
Aye, sir. Sir, as 14 order is, I will not use tobacco products, illegal drugs, and or alcohol. Stop, sir, done, sir, done.
So you got everything other than doing the right thing on your natural little mind. That's how smart you are. So get all that crap that's on your mind off your mind and get boot camp on your mind. So you can get past this, get through this, and become a productive citizen. That's what you're expected to do. That's what the judge wants you to do. I don't even know why they gave you the opportunity to come here. But you got all that on your mind. Get it out your mind. Get boot camp on your mind. Do you understand that, son?
All right, sir.
The drill sergeants have quickly recognized Osman's learning difficulties. Despite this fact, he gets no special support, only special hardships. Cadets who are unsure of themselves or anxious attract the instructor's attention. One after the other, the officers take the 18-year-old to task. Why Osman is unfocused? The photo falling out of his locker could be an indication. But for the officers, to deal with it would be to deal with the people behind the crimes. That doesn't happen here, according to Cadet Robert.
It's different between drilling, scrubbing, and using power. We feel passionate about it, yeah, but not in a way as in like controlling people. They see us as robots. We're not people, we're robots. It's crazy.
Function like robots. A boot camp principle. Functioning, reliable, on demand. The ideal cadet. But Robert is considered stubborn. Boot camp hasn't broken him yet.
It's just letters from family. I tell them not to write. I don't like to think about the outside while I'm incarcerated. Just trying to focus on what's going on right now.
The drill officers are focusing on Robert and his "nobody has got to tell me what to do" attitude. Besides, his list of offenses is 2 pages longer than the rest of the group's.
Attempted murder, aggravated assault, fleeing and eluding. No, I don't regret it at all. It's happened, it happened. I can't take it back, can't press the rewind button, so I don't regret it. Just a mistake I made. Just know better next time what to do.
Under normal circumstances, he would be serving a 30-year sentence for those offenses. But the judge saw potential in Robert, although not much of that is evident right now.
Just certain limits you shouldn't push people to. It's not that hard.
If he really wants to change, improve himself, only time will tell during boot camp. Giuseppe, at 18 years of age, belongs to the younger cadets. Still, he is here for a reason. 5 armed burglaries.
I was going into houses with a weapon, and certain things happened, and I got caught. Cops showed up, and there was witnesses and phone calls, and things started adding up.
But Giuseppe shows some insight.
What does boot camp mean to me? A second opportunity. If it weren't for boot camp, I could be doing God knows how many years in prison. And prison isn't a nice place.
Talking is forbidden in boot camp, at all times, no matter with whom. Therefore, Giuseppe is now in trouble for the 3rd time. Getting smoked is boot camp slang for some serious physical activity.
Let's go, aye, ma'am. Aye, ma'am. Aye, ma'am. Aye, ma'am. Push. Push through it. You gotta get off the deck, son. You gotta get off the deck. Get on your feet, on your feet. Do you know what we doing?
Yes, ma'am.
What are we doing?
Osman knows boot camp punishment as well. The drill instructors know he is one of the weaker links. Today, the 18-year-old is far away with his thoughts. He has recently become a father.
It was a great feeling, but it was a bad feeling knowing I can't be there for her right now, at this moment.
2 months before the birth of his daughter, Osman was arrested. The 18-year-old allegedly stole cars and robbed a bodega with his accomplices.
Mistake, following the wrong people. Being a good friend.
In fact, police and judge disagree whether Osman is actually guilty or just a follower. He still won't be able to see his daughter for a while.
My daughter, she was just born March 22nd. She just made a month. What I gotta get home to. She got my eyes, my eyebrows, my nose, my head.
The pressure, the constant screaming, no privacy, and being away from his newborn daughter, too much for the young cadet.
It drives me crazy. That's all I got on my mind. I gotta make it.
For Osman, a lot is at stake. No mistakes are allowed, and you have to follow all the rules to survive boot camp and walk out of here as a free man after 16 months. And there are many rules. One of the most important to remember, every sentence begins and ends with "sir," and never look the warden in the eye.
You freaking step off that way, and you don't go freaking back that way. You understand me? All right, sir. All right, sir, say something.
The daily routine is just that, routine, brainwashing and workout. The constant repetition of all the rules should provoke the cadets. Whoever is angry makes mistakes, and mistakes are punished. Every movement must be fast, every answer loud and clear, true to the motto.
Yeah, boot camp, move like what?
Like it, sir.
Sound like what?
Thunder, sir.
Each violation means punishment. Physical torment in the form of push-ups, sit-ups, or squats. In addition, if one cadet makes a mistake, the drill instructors often punish the rest of the group as well. Those who do not follow the rules end up back behind bars, and it's pretty brutal there, as inmate Turkle knows too well. He'd just shown us his cell. A few minutes later, he was being led away with a black eye. What happened? An altercation with a fellow cellmate. And when the inmates of cell block 6B argue, they argue with their fists, which have left traces on Turkle's face.
I said one thing on camera that shouldn't have been said, and the person in that gang felt like, oh, you put my name out there, you put our gang out there, so you gotta tighten up. All right, I'll give you an issue. We waited till y'all left. He called me out, and I gave him his issue. Simple as that. A little punch, a little swelling. Where he at? I want to see him. I want to see how he look. If this all I got, I wonder what he got. And we was fighting for a minute. That's how jail goes.
Turkle won't be going back to that cell. The officers bring him to a different cell block for his own protection. A new day dawns at Miami-Dade County Jail. Shakedown Day. Once a month, the most experienced wardens gather together. The cells will be entered and turned upside down without warning, for good reason.
They get comfortable when you don't do it, so to make them uncomfortable so they don't know how and where to hide stuff, because they're very creative, so they don't have nothing but time to find different places to hide things. Let's go. Head count. Everybody out. Let's go. Come on.
Everybody has to leave the cells. 10 officers are on duty. 3 to pat down the inmates and to monitor them. Officer Williams is here too.
We search them down for contraband, anything that they shouldn't have on them, things that are not given through commissary or by us. Anything that we consider illegal, we call contraband.
Once it is determined the prisoners aren't carrying any weapons, the cells are searched. The guards take anything that could be a potential risk. For example, misused bandages, which the inmates can use to strangle themselves or others. Nothing remains unsearched, not even the laundry, with success.
Over here.
Homemade, I don't know what you guys call it.
What the inmates do, they call it buck. They make buck.
They put a little nozzle on it.
There's fruit fermenting inside of the glove. They're making some type of alcoholic beverage to drink.
Lo and behold, the prisoners have hidden a homemade cocktail in the dirty laundry bag, tightly sealed with a creative closure.
And they make the tip with a toothpaste dispenser. They emptied out the toothpaste. No. They're very inventive.
They have nothing but time.
The discovery has consequences for the inmates, and they know it too. Bad luck.
So basically what happened is we'll charge him for contraband, for possession of contraband. He'll go through a hearing, a disciplinary hearing, and then they'll charge him according to that, whatever that charge holds. And then he'll be placed in administrative confinement, pending disciplinary confinement.
The maximum penalty every inmate is afraid of. The box. The prisoner's nickname for the isolation cell. Solitary confinement. No human contact except some officers. No daylight. No sounds in the 75 square feet hole. When the iron bar slides into place, it's like being buried alive. If the Buck's producer lands inside the box will be determined in the next few days. In the meanwhile, the officers continue their search. Contraband can be hidden anywhere, especially
A shank or drugs, a homemade knife or drugs.
drugs are regularly smuggled into prison.
There's various ways drugs can come in. Visitors, attorneys, officers, counselors, nurses, it's various ways. Because this is a public building, so it's nothing but traffic in and out, in and out, in and out all day. There's too many hands in the pot.
For now, only one discovery, the fermented orange juice. Inmates file back into the cell, and the door closes. Back to boot camp. Physical training and mental drill alternate throughout the day. Giuseppe realizes the seriousness of the situation.
I mean, I knew it was a physical program, but not as intense as this was, but it's this or prison.
You got one that want to touch his chair at the last minute. One screwed it all up. Security trash, do it now! Aye, sir. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. For the mess of perfection. Grind that trash, do it now! Aye, sir.
Mealtime. It should be the highlight of the day, especially when you consider that the recruits burn a lot of calories due to the extreme workouts. But even during mealtime, there are rules. Many unusual rules, without rhyme or reason.
Right grip or right knee. Your arm does not go on my armrest. That is not for you, that is for decoration. Ready? Pray. Eat.
Food as means to an end, as additional drill unit, in which it is all about one thing: watch yourself, pay attention. Many of the cadets have learned to hate these meals, but when you're starving, you still eat it. To survive. As always, the clock is ticking. 8 minutes, then everything has to be off the plate. Eating, please use only one hand. Why? No good reason, except that it's less comfortable. Constant physical activity makes the recruits hungry, but the administered amount of calories is calculated. Enough to survive, not enough to satiate. Robert has given up thinking a boot camp meal will fill him up.
Just to survive.
I
don't eat oatmeal, I just eat it to be full.
One of the cadets appears to get it right.
Just put it in my stomach and that's it. Quickly, willingly, without question.
Like a robot. The same applies to the drill instructors.
We don't drill, we don't talk, we don't socialize, we don't crack a smile in front of them at all. Drill instructors mean business, and they gotta understand that drill instructors mean business.
Miami-Dade County Jail and Miami-Dade Boot Camp, two of the world's toughest prisons. In boot camp, 16 months, psychological and physical torment. The three things that count most: discipline, discipline, discipline. Whoever doesn't fall into line is forced into line. Many break under the pressure. Miami-Dade Pretrial Detention Center, DC Jail. Inhuman accommodations in old holding cells, packed with hardened felons, people in a permanent state of alarm, prison yard outings rare, for some no hope, lives that will end after decades behind bars. The prospects? Whoever can endure the torment in boot camp has a chance that the torture will eventually end, a chance to avoid spending many years with the toughest criminals in the world.
You don't know who's watching you. You see, they're right there. They can see you. You turn this way, they're gonna come and tell you to turn that way. So you're never alone here, but what can you do? It's better than prison. There's people in prison that are never coming out. And a little guy like me isn't gonna make it in prison.
One of the inmates who probably won't make it out ever again. Torrance, murderer. But he won't give up hope and is betting it all on an appeal and a former renegotiation of his sentence.
It's gonna go well. I believe in God. He ain't brought me down here for nothing. So he chose me.
Turco, the robber, is getting out. In a year, enough time to dream about the big things and little things.
I see my life doing big things when I get out there. I don't plan on coming back to jail. I plan on having a job, getting a house, getting married, doing all the things a regular human is supposed to do.
Osman has only one goal, getting through boot camp so that he can finally hold his daughter in his arms.
I see my future in a good place because I have the chance for my daughter. And also, I have a dad that really cares about me. He's been trying to make me do the right thing for a long time, so.
And Robert. He's not so sure if he'll make the transition to a legal existence.
I'm gonna try to change. I'm gonna try. That's always the best thing you can do, but I'm gonna try not to fall into the same jungle.
The next 16 months will determine which of the cadets will survive, which of the cadets will use this last chance.
The best case scenario, you have 37 cadets that are here now. All 37 go home, live well, become doctors and lawyers. But reality, it's not like that. Worst case scenario, you have many that will go to prison. You have some that will get out and will die. And you have some that will go back to the old way of living. Only time will tell, and only the future will know what happened.
A future in freedom or behind bars in Miami-Dade County Jail and boot camp, two of the world's toughest prisons.